I'll call the regular meeting of Irmo County Council to order, and I will recognize Councilman, excuse me, Councilman Barry Walker to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us assemble this evening, and thank you for all the safe people that you've gotten here tonight. Also, thank you for allowing us to administer a new chief of police for the town of Irmo. I know that you will be with him all his days and what he does, and I know that you'll be with our former chief, who also has served us well. Thank you very much for your prayers. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes from May 5th. Is there a motion for minutes to be approved as written?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of the minutes to be approved as written, do so with show of hands. And next item is the swearing in ceremony for Captain Nate. And I will let y'all come up here and do how y'all want to do it. I don't know if we need to get out of the way or anything, or
All right, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that you will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States of America and the Constitution and government of the state of South Carolina, that you will bear true faith, allegiance, and loyalty to the same, and to any ordinance or resolution of the town of Irmo, and the policies, procedures, and orders of the police department, that you will well and faithfully perform all duties of the office of Chief of Police on which you are about to enter, and will serve the citizens of Irmo to the best of your ability, at all times being ethical, fair, and impartial in your decisions, yet enforcing the law equally. So help you God. I do. Congratulations. Thank you.
We need a picture. We're staying next to you.
Okay.
Because between you and Barry, I should look thin.
All right.
Not a big fan.
Where's Irmo News?
He said it.
I stuck it crap. Okay?
We're with you.
You gotta take those captains over.
I will.
Good. Brian, you did good too.
I had an easy part.
and I think I was supposed to make an announcement for anyone who didn't want to stay. Is that what you were saying? That if y'all want to stay, that's a great thing. It would be fun.
Hey, this is the safest council meeting we've had in a long time.
Thanks. You have a good time.
I guess there's not who everybody came to see.
We know where y'all rank. We know where y'all rank.
Yeah. I mean, we can sneak out there. Nobody knows.
y'all doing, Brian? You can hang out if you want.
Yeah, you can check it out from the different perspective there.
Nope. I know y'all do a good job.
Brian. When will you be sworn in?
Probably first week of June.
First week of June? Will you let us
Where's your,
I'm in magistrate at large, so I'll have an office in Lexington.
The old courthouse?
At the old courthouse. And I'll fill in for magistrate's application, I'll run for traffic court, CDD court, handling conflict cases.
Lexington County. So if I do something, do it in Lexington County.
I don't remember saying that. So, on behalf of the county and the train outside. Yeah. That train stopped everybody. Yeah.
Oh,
Is it just not that
Yes, Lots of lake breweries and
I told you.
Somebody did that.
I know.
Oh, that was you. Were you talking to him on the phone?
I'll talk to him a little bit.
Technically, she may have it. They shut down all the states. That's all I got. Next week.
Okay.
Yeah, train.
Thank you, Captain.
You don't want to.
And say it's an estimate.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, how do you get around now? Did y'all have like 2 minutes?
Yeah, car shop.
Okay.
So, be careful what I say, it's my role.
But, you know, I've got nowhere to be.
We can get a very good deal on it.
See y'all. Right, I'm sorry, guys. Seriously. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming to the other town. You have my card already? You would. Just kidding. Thank you. There, I got it. One way in, one way out. Seems like. You have any hot topics?
We'll find something to argue about.
I hear that. You need to find a replacement. What? Oh, I mean, I didn't know he was over there.
Better late than never.
I need one of her cards because I've got somebody who's looking for it.
Only in Irmo.
Oh, you know what? Where's
Park this time.
where?
Yeah, here. By the Royal Tower.
How you
I was there last week.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get started.
Well, like I said,
Thank you.
I don't know what train, right? Yeah. It's a, I think Paul's texted me and said he called, I think, called Barry. It's pretty, it's not jam. I tried to go through Friday, I tried to go through, I finally had to go down Harvest. He just decided to stop right in the middle of the road.
We made it.
Already. Are we filming now, or we?
Yes, we're filming.
Oh, we are. All right, we'll get started again. And we're on administrative
You know what?
briefing.
Partners, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody else can.
Tell the chief to come inside and join us.
Does anybody remember when we put our official name tags for that Global opening?
Oh, yeah, that guy wants to know if we're coming.
I know, if I could find my name tag, I'd go.
Got somewhere else to go that night. I was gonna get mine. Because he wanted to go.
Oh,
All righty. Next item on the agenda then is administrative briefing. And Mr. Brown, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, there's two things, and Kathy just brought one of them up. Blowfish is their opening day, and all their VIP visits are next Wednesday, the 27th. It starts at 6 o'clock, and the first pitch is at 7 o'clock. And this is over at Lexington, and they're on Ballpark Road off Highway 1. I need to know by the end of the week if you're planning on going.
I'll be here.
Well, the VIP, no big deal. If you want to sit and watch the game, you need to have a seat for you. So if you're going to stay for the game, I need to know. VIP, you're welcome to go in. There'll be a game. They're playing Gastonia.
okay.
I think crawfish, I might something.
I don't know their last name. I just know
Will
Gastonia.
Bull Durham be there? Yes. He played for Gastonia.
What is the date again?
Next Wednesday, the 27th of May. Also, it's a reminder for the annual conference. It's July 16th to the 19th in Hilton Head this year. And we need to know, start thinking about who's going, because Kim will start to get all of her things
June
in.
2nd is the day that
They draw for the.
they draw May 22nd, and then it's either June 2nd or 3rd.
We need to let her know. by
So next
Monday or
week I
Tuesday.
need to have
Yeah.
all the paperwork.
Y'all need to know, because I was at the last one, and they are beneficial. I used to think it was just a waste of money when John Gibbons was mayor, because that's what he told me. But it's really not, because I learned a lot at the last one. Plus, Greenville and Charleston, wonderful places to go. But anyway, this year is the 40th anniversary, and it's a very big deal. They've been planning this for months. So if there's any way y'all can go, you ought to. I'm going.
But once we sign up and get all the applications in, I mean, you have to be real careful. You don't sign up for something if you're not going to go, because we can't get the money back.
I'm going.
They keep all the money when we sign up for stuff, special classes, receptions, things like that. So,
And most of those classes are beneficial.
They are.
Some years better than others, but they're all still good.
that's all I have.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on the briefing?
Are you going, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown doesn't know yet.
Okay.
Kids are out of school, wife hadn't made me my vacation plans.
And next item is receipt of communications. There is one thing I wanted to, we've been discussing it up here a little bit, but I had some phone calls the other day and emails about the yard trash again, Carmel Commons, and I know Bob sent an email to Hardy, and we got an answer back, and then he said he was going, but I think we need to maybe put it on our agenda for next meeting to discuss, because you had said something in the email about penalties, and they said, well, they didn't agree with it, but
It's not in the contract.
it's not in the contract that they would agree to pay some penalties, they just didn't want to pay what the boss said. But we may need to discuss that and make an amendment to the thing, or change them to 2 days anyway, or just say, okay. we
I
can
mean,
do
is
2 days.
it because we got so many houses now in the town that we
I don't know.
grown more?
I think so.
I mean, they
I
did
mean,
it good
something's
for a
happened
while.
because
It's bad.
we've never had missed days before until recently. I mean, I don't think, I've always got my trash picked up on Wednesday.
They missed all 34 houses in Quail Valley. But then, you know, we're still young enough to take care of the garbage. But Carmel Commons,
Well, the
that's a
excuse
sin.
was that the driver of the truck had to go to a funeral and replacement, got lost.
Well, it's fine, but I mean, you have more than one truck, don't they?
Yeah, Carmel Commons is not little old ladies.
No, they get their trucks really running a separate route, so they may have 5 trucks, I'm using an example, but
Yeah.
each truck has a certain route, so when the one guy had to go to the funeral, his truck, they had to put a plate in the driveway for just his route. Well, the driver didn't know, he wasn't well trained or supervised or whatever.
I wasn't sure when you got finished and didn't know what you.
But I remembered in the contract, it specifically called, we have to have trucks that were no less than 2 years old or something like that, and they had to have at least 2 trucks per shift. I remember that in the contract.
When we were getting the 5-day pickup, we didn't have these kind of problems, because, you know, you had, one house might get the yard trash for one day.
Right.
A house next, recycle the next, and you might have pickups 3 days a week. Well, now if they decided they wanted to put it all in one day, I don't think they can handle it.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, this is a lot of hours.
Well, you know, they went to some of the newer trucks that have the boom that picks up the can,
Yeah.
and they eliminated an extra person on that truck. So now, if the can is not just exactly right, or there's a box with something else in it there, the driver's got to park the truck, get out, come around, and so it's taking a whole lot more time, where before, the guy riding on the back of the truck would have reached out, picked it up, thrown it in the back, and it kept going. So it's taking them a lot longer to do it with one truck, one driver.
And part of their stuff too has been yard trash and recyclables.
Yeah.
And skipping.
When does their contract come up for renewal?
Anytime, I mean, we just have to give 60 days, you know.
That's what I'm saying, I think we put it on the agenda next month, and we can discuss those penalties, whether we want to do penalties, or go to 2 days a week, and just tell them that's it, or rebid it out altogether.
I don't think you need to do those penalties. I think we need to find out what's going on with the company. I mean, they've been doing fine for, what, 10 years, and all of a sudden we have this issue now.
Well,
I mean,
from the time they changed to a 1 day, they had maybe
Right.
a month or two that was good, and then
Yeah.
it kind of went sour.
Well, they were just here a month ago, and then they stand up here and tell you everything's all, you know, warm
Yeah,
and
but
fuzzy.
Mr. Bob, they lie.
well,
I know that.
I'm
We
looking
can
at,
be, yeah, we got those, and a lot of those
Reports,
reported bins. I mean, there's probably 20 bins that
Yeah.
they haven't put out there.
Why don't we just tell them, Thursday's their day to make up the houses they didn't pick up?
Well, and had they done that last week,
Exactly.
it'd been all right, but it was Friday afternoon before they got the one thing missed on Wednesday. That's what Buff is all about.
And a lot of it is, if I get that and sends it to them, we should be getting that back that says they took care of all the stuff. We're not getting that, which is one of the things they need to do, was to get that less than 5, mark it off and then send it. And then, I know one lady in Carmel Commons says she called them twice, and then they told her they'd pick it up Monday. And then she called me, and then called Bob, and then Bob called them, and they said they'd come back pick it up Friday. I don't know if whoever's done there, like when you call, did they go, oh, that's not a customer, we don't care, or if I didn't call us, I don't, but
The
if I
lady
call them, it seems like it gets, but if a neighbor calls, they just ignore it until they get mad and then call a council member somewhere, and then.
The lady I called said, oh, we'll take care of it today. Well, 2 days later, they did.
Well, like in Paul, the big issue is, in their eyes, it's not a big deal, because they might only miss 30 to 50 houses. When you got 5,000, they're saying, well, that's such a small percentage, except for the 30 or 50 people that get missed, you know, and then they're called.
And then
Is
next
it ever
week
going to be
it's-
100%? Probably not.
We'll have them reimburse the homeowner every day.
Well, that's what we can discuss, because we have nothing in the contract to collect
Yeah,
on.
we
So
ain't
we're
got no.
We'll put it on the next agenda.
we'll put it on, I said, put it on the agenda, invite them to come and listen to the conversation.
Well, I'd rather us discuss it first and decide what we want to do, and then tell them we voted, and here's what we're going to do.
I want them to hear it, I want them to hear the
Yeah,
discussion.
but all they want to,
They know.
they know, they've been here before, and all they tell us is,
3
we're
times.
going to do better. I'd rather us come up with something and then.
And they're very
what they
nice.
decided and give them a choice. Either rebid it or fix it. I don't want to rebid it again, because I don't know that, but I think
Well, that'd be painful.
if we can amend it to 2 days, if they can't do 1 day, or just penalize them until they get it fixed. I don't know, whatever, but we can figure that out. But they're not doing a whole lot better. Any other city communication?
Yeah, I've been talking with the sheriff a lot about this Oakland investigation. Did you have any information yet, Bob?
No, sir, haven't seen anything.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, you don't want to release that preliminary report, right?
Like I said, it's kind of a
You refuse?
halftime score, and he's told me the other day, in fact, when we were over here, that he should be sending it out this week.
Okay, Bob, I want you to pen a letter to Sheriff Lott and copy the chairman of the Richland County Council on it. I think that's Livingston, is that the chairman now?
Paul, maybe?
Whoever the
No.
chairman of
Norman Jackson.
Norman Jackson, copy Norman Jackson on this letter. I want you to, in no specific terms, pen a letter saying that this criminal investigation of the orchestra has been going on for 5 months. Today's May 19th. And he hasn't gotten back. He's been promising he gave Hardy a preliminary report, and Hardy refuses, or Mayor refuses to release that preliminary report. We'd like to get a copy of the preliminary report from him, and also the final report, if not, sooner or later than later.
I'm opposed to that.
Okay.
We do not need to send a copy to the chairman of Richland County Council. If we need to get along with these people,
Well,
we need to do this
obviously-
with all due respect.
Obviously, we've been patient enough for 5 months, waiting for a criminal investigation to be a preliminary report or a report to be issued. The mayor has a preliminary report and is refusing to share it with anybody but you. So yeah, I think it's time for the rest of council, including our coordinator or our administrator of our council, our orchestra, to have the information he needs so we can go forward in this illegal criminal
Okay, that's enough.
cloud.
We can write a letter to Sheriff Lott. We don't need to copy anybody.
We need a
The
copy.
mayor will answer you.
I would need council to vote on it. I can't just write a letter.
Okay.
for
Okay,
council.
fine, you wanna vote on it? We'll vote on it,
Put it on the
I want-
agenda next month.
I'm not gonna put it on next month, we're gonna do it right now. This is
It's
what
not
I
on
want
the
to do.
agenda for tonight.
Well, I wanna amend the agenda then,
You
okay?
can't amend the agenda.
Yes, you can, yes, you can. I would like to amend the agenda and add the, letter to Sheriff Lott and copy to the, chairman of the Richland County Council on it. Under item, where is this?
You know the proper way to amend the agenda? It's got to be done proper, or, and I don't think anybody knows the
Under
proper
new
way to
business,
amend
item D. Okay?
I agree, we ought to write a respectful letter. We don't need to copy anybody.
Well, I just asked for amendment on the agenda. Does anybody disapprove?
it. Yes,
Okay, good, so vote on it. So
we
you
don't
can
vote
amend
on
it.
it. We don't vote on the amendment to the agenda like that.
So then let's amend the agenda then. Add
Well,
item
you
D.
can't. State law only said it could be done, but they didn't come up with a criteria on how it could be done, so nobody knows how it
See,
can be
now
done.
you're doing it again.
And we don't have anything in there
I would like to
ordinance
amend
that
it.
says you can amend the agenda and how. And that's the first thing, is you gotta have something in your ordinance saying where and when and how you can amend it, otherwise you can't. So,
You can amend the agenda.
Barry, if I may, we took it out of the ordinance. We have to put it back in the ordinance to allow amendments. We took it out about 3 or 4 years ago.
back when they said you couldn't do it, we took it out. We
But
had to
now
put
the
it back
state said
in
you
with-
can amend it, but we have to put it back on the ordinance. So the first thing we need to do is have an ordinance.
And the
that
state's
allows
already
us-
passed first reading on a state law that says how it's gonna be done, and they said it has to be.
Mr. Parliamentarian, can I
Fine.
complete a ruling on this, please? I'm trying to get this mayor to release the report. He's refusing to do so. I'd like to then append a letter to Richland County, to Sheriff Lott, and copy the chairman of Richland County Council, asking for the conclusion of the criminal investigation of our orchestra festival. All right, or what's the deal with that?
Why don't you just write a letter to Leon White?
Because I want him to come from the entire council, not like you went off half-time.
But it's not coming from the town council if one person asked for it, so.
That's the
it's not.
problem. You did it, and you put this cloud of illegal activity over the strut, and it's
That's an
impeding,
opinion.
it's
That's an
impeding
opinion.
our ability to raise funds and to
It's
put
not
on
impeding on
successful
anybody's
jobs.
ability to.
Sure it
do
is.
No, it's not.
We applied for a grant from
This
Richland
is
County
receiving
Council, and the
communication.
first thing that came out of their mouth with is do what? They said,
Hey,
"Did you ever-"
Jay, this is city communication, this is not a debate, this is not a time for this. If you're the parliamentarian, you need to step up and say, this is city communication.
I asked the parliamentarian for another ruling first, sir.
Well,
I will try to answer both. First of
we were
all,
gonna have a short meeting tonight too, so let's do it quickly.
I'll try to answer the questions if you want me to. I think that what you have here is basically, the mayor is correct. We are in receipt of communications. I think if you're going to make a motion to amend the agenda, it should probably come under new business. I think Mr. Brown is absolutely correct. We took out the language about amendment of the agenda some time back. So now our ordinance is totally silent in regard to how you go about amending the agenda. It does tend to indicate that you may amend the agenda, as I understand the most recent rulings of our Supreme Court. Certainly, I think it would be an appropriate thing to amend the agenda simply to ask that a letter of inquiry be sent to the sheriff. So I think the appropriate way, if you're asking me for my opinion off the cuff, which you are, is first of
No,
all,
we're not asking
Yes,
off
I
the
am.
cuff, we're asking for your legal opinion, not off the cuff. What does our thing say? And it does
Why are you
state,
interrupting him? Let me
because
finish.
he's not giving a
Let him
legal answer,
finish.
he's giving off the cuff, which
But
means
see,
he
you're
doesn't
interrupting
know
the
what he's talking
parliamentarian,
about.
so you
So
can answer the question.
My-
we need to give him
My
a legal.
legal opinion would be my off-the-cuff legal opinion. What I mean by that is basically this. I obviously have not had the time to do any detailed legal research. So all I can tell you is my opinion as I stand before you tonight trying to serve the town as your city attorney. I do believe the mayor is absolutely correct that this is the appropriate place on the agenda for receipt of communications. I believe that if it is the intent to amend the agenda, that would come under new business. When you arrive at new business, I do believe that you can make a motion, because our ordinance is totally silent as to how to do it, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but if the ordinance is totally silent and there's no real procedure to do it, it would seem to me the appropriate place to do it would be under new business. I think at that point in time, you would make a motion to amend the agenda. If it received a second, there would be discussion as to it. There would be a roll call on it. If the motion to amend the agenda passed, then you would basically have discussion on the motion itself. And if that motion passed, then you would be able to direct Mr. Brown to write whatever letter, copy whoever the council majority would basically say should be written to and copied. And to the best of my ability, I have provided the answer to the two questions.
Okay.
Let me, excuse me, Mr. Moore, for an amendment to the agenda, not an amendment to a motion or but to the agenda, don't we have to give somebody 24 hours or 48 hours notice before we do that?
You know,
We put it in an ordinance that allows us to make amendments, like we had in the past. We do an ordinance that allows us to put that in new business.
I don't think
Then
we
you
can
can
do
make that
it
amendment.
You
right
would-
here, right now.
in my opinion, and again, Kelly, I don't have the research in front of me, but I do think if you were going to amend the agenda to do something like pass that ordinance, yes. If all you're doing is amending the agenda to give a directive to administrative staff, I don't think you've got to give 24-hour notice to that. I mean, my God, we tell Bob all the time to do this and do that. What you now have is this, simply a disagreement as to who should be written and who should be copied. If you can't amend the agenda to tell your administrator to write a letter, you know, at some point in time, the procedure is beginning to eat up the substance of the purpose for a meeting, and you'll never get anything done. I do think that you would have the legal authority at the appropriate place on the agenda to move to amend the agenda to have a letter written, and that upon passage of that motion to amend, and then upon passage of whatever the order, whoever letter you're going to, whatever it's going to say, I think you can do that.
Well, and I disagree on a couple different reasons. One, the state Supreme Court years ago said you couldn't. That's why we took it off of our agenda, because they said you can amend the agenda. Then they came back and said, yes, you can, but they didn't come up with a criteria. The Municipal Association looked at that and made a ruling to advise all council to do this, whatever that this was. The state house, I don't know if it's the Senate or the House, has, well, I think it's the Senate, has came up with a bill and working on passing, and I think you're at second reading, that says they're going to allow it. Only way they're going to allow it is you have to have an emergency finding as to why you'd have to have an emergency amendment to the agenda. all in all to say, once they do all that, it's still up to every council to set their own perimeters and guidelines with the state guidelines as to when they can, if they want to or not. Just because the state says you can, if you don't have it in your ordinance, then you're not supposed to.
The last
That's
one-
their determination, is if you don't got it in your ordinance, whatever the state says, you can't do it. Whether it's under new business or old, that's why you have to have it in your ordinance when you do it, under what criteria. So anything that was discussed during that would be null and void because you can't.
I think we could come to a consensus about writing a letter to.
I think Bob could email everybody out tomorrow and ask everybody to do the same
Yeah,
thing,
and I
but
would
if
be
you
in
start
favor of that.
changing the amendment, you're gonna come up next week with another excuse. to
Start
do it.
changing the amendment.
Yeah, start changing the agenda. You're gonna come up with another gray area next week to say, well, we did it for this, we can do it for this, and you're off and running to doing it.
But it's a good
however you want
idea,
to.
it's like the.
I'm not talking about next week, I'm talking about adding a section so we can discuss.
Well, it's all show and
That's
tell anyway,
today.
because he's gonna send out the thing when he's ready. He don't care if he gets a letter from you or me or who. He ain't gonna send it out till he's, to think that we
What are you
can
talking about? He's not
control
gonna send it out till he's through.
until he's through with
What
the
do you mean?
investigation. He's not gonna send it out.
Who's he?
The sheriff.
Well, Hardy, I mean, you got the preliminary report, you can release the one you got now.
I've already told you, I would tell you what was on it. So
I don't want you to tell me, I want you to give me
know.
the paper
This
that
is
you got.
why this is.
I can read just as well as you can. I mean, it seems to me that you want this cloud of illegal activity over the open
Well,
stuff.
you can call it illegal activity, whatever you
What
want.
is an illegal investigation?
We're under receipt of
It's an
communication.
investigation of legal activity.
Are we ready to
What are you
move
talking? So my point is this, I mean, do you want to do
Ready
it?
to move on.
Do you want to amend the agenda down
Does
there?
anybody
No.
want to communicate with us? I don't think so.
Councilman Walker, really, I mean, I'm in favor of this report. I don't think that necessary to copy the chairman of the Richmond County Council, but I'm in favor of the report, so I just put it on the agenda next time, it'll be fine.
Well, let Bob send out a letter. I don't care if he sends out
Maybe
a
we'll have
letter.
it by then, and what he told you is that he'll have it out.
He said he was, got it on his desk and would be looking at it and sending it out this week. But that's what he said.
He told you that?
That's what he said. His Ron's thing the other day.
He told you that?
Yeah.
Okay, so, again, he's communicating with you, since you requested it.
I requested it. That's what he should be
But
doing.
that's what I'm saying, that's the
And I doubt
problem.
very seriously since I requested it. If he ain't ready to send it out, he can send it to nobody else. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I don't know.
Well,
Who's gonna send it to you, or, I mean, is that our public information, or what?
once he sends it out the door, it will be.
Yeah, once he sends it to Hardy, anybody can see it, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, he sent them the preliminary report, and nobody's seen it but him. So what does that mean?
That means the investigation's not over and they don't.
But
whatever
you
they call it.
have documentation on what they found, and
Investigation.
you haven't released it.
No, I got documentations on what they were looking at the time and where they
So
stood.
let's see what you have, let me have a copy of what
I've
you
already
have.
told you, I can tell you what's on there, you don't want to know, so I'm not playing games with
I
you.
do wanna know, that's the
Are we ready to
problem.
move on? I mean, y'all want to move on or y'all want to discuss this all night long?
Put it on the agenda for the next meeting. If we don't have the letter by this, then we'll have it on the agenda, and we can decide who gets copies of what.
And I can get a letter and send it out, email you guys, and let the majority of it approves it, we can mail it.
You know, no one tomorrow, next day, or next day. We can
Okay.
do it by Friday, mail it Monday. Or something.
And all I just need a majority to say, says I can't send it in council's name by myself.
No, I want you to
Send
send
it out
it
by
on
email,
council.
and respond
Let
to
you
it.
look at it. Okay.
Okay.
Any other city communication?
Agnes Bell, you want to mention, Agnes Bell is the lady that lives
On Bluebird?
On Eastview.
Eastview Drive. She's going to be 95 years old. We're going to honor her. Her family's going to honor her on Saturday, 12 o'clock. And I think that we could have a resolution, proclamation, which was it. And her, recognizing her lifelong, residency in Irmo, and raising her family here.
Where will it be?
It'll be in one of the shelters
Yeah.
at the new community.
Oh, at that park.
Yes,
What time?
12 o'clock,
On Saturday?
and they're having a program at 1.
Okay.
This Saturday.
That's right, yes.
Very nice.
Remind me, I got her birthday for her daughter.
I don't have that.
We'll have something next year. Any other received communication? Seeing none, next item is presentation by citizens, agenda items only. This is where anyone who would like to address the council on anything that's on the agenda tonight. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record, and then the agenda item that you want to discuss. So anyone want to discuss?
Kirk Luther, Irmo News. This has to do with everything on the agenda tonight. Some of us like to go and review the videotape of your past meetings, council meetings, and we noticed the last videotape was almost inaudible, that we could barely hear. So, and I've noticed out here too that the sound is not carrying as well as it used to. So I don't know if you all, I just want to make you aware of it. Some of us, we don't want to miss a word that you all are saying. So, it just, we couldn't hear it from the last
Why is the
tape.
mic not hooked up? The mic's not hooked up. What's the deal
Well,
with that?
That is
these are the
correct.
ones that
Yeah.
are,
We had turned
There's one on
up.
the podium.
There's one on the podium, but
Yeah, but you had another mic that came from this box directly over to there to give it. You used to have it.
Yeah, we may need to put those at,
We-
do we
we-
still have the little plugins here
No.
for that?
No.
We may
But
need to look at doing
we
something,
get
because I've heard
feedback with
people.
that one about 2 meetings ago. That's why we stopped and we turned the volume up on meetings, not just.
How about we look at some different, how about we buy some new cameras and use some new equipment to handle it?
I'm spending money like a drunken sailor.
Yeah. That way we can catch Hardy saying that, he's in favor of the open truck being investigated.
But yeah, we might need to do something about those. I don't know if we need to lower them or get more or whatever, I don't know.
I don't even, who do you call to look at
I
that?
mean, these things are pricey, they're like $350 a pop. So, okay.
Anyone else who'd like to address the council on anything on the agenda? What agenda item was that, Kurt?
Everything, the whole ball of wax.
Oh,
Thank you for letting us know.
yeah, it is a problem.
Thank you.
I think people
The administrative briefing is considered part of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I'm Julius Waits, 124 Bolters Lock Road. The garbage. Problem is the town is not enforcing one of its ordinances that would solve the garbage problem. Garbage, yard trash are supposed to be in some sort of containment, be it a bag or a Herbie-Kirby or whatever, and a lot of people aren't doing that. So that takes time for the trucks to get somebody to get it on the truck, and a lot of times they leave a lot of it on the street anyway. Mine are in Herbie-Kirby's that I bought, and they dump some of the trash on the street, and I'm out there with a broom cleaning it up after they leave. But somebody who doesn't put theirs in a container, that's going to take time. We used to have no problems when they did it on 2 days. And we had the little tiny recycling bins, and they did that every week.
They used to, because a lot of the did something change on the yard trash that it had?
Yard trash used to be an exclusive day from the household trash and recycling.
It used to be in a container.
No.
No, no, no,
Well, it
no.
could be bagged or it could be loose.
Okay.
Now, they'll pick up sticks loose, but everything else has to, like leaves have to be bagged.
But the sticks have to be certain length, certain
Yeah.
diameter, and stacked up.
Yeah.
And sometimes even when you do that, they don't pick it up, and you have to, at my age, run down the street and stop the truck and say, "What's wrong with mine? You picked up that guy's, and mine's stacked up or in a container."
Yeah, I don't know, that yard trash seems to be the biggest problem then right now, is the yard trash. I don't know.
Last couple of weeks, yeah.
So
Driving
if they did
the
another
truck,
day, they'd have no problem.
They need more trucks
yeah,
out
they just need
there.
more time.
One day a week just ain't getting it.
Mm.
No, and sometimes we have 3 trucks going down our street. One's actually doing work, the other 2 are just passing and waving and whatever. So, I mean, something's not being handled
But they should,
in the
and they
office.
should have a household trash, and then they have another truck for recycling.
Recycling, right, and another truck for yard trash.
But yeah, we do
Thank you.
have some problems with it. Anyone else? Seeing none, next item is unfinished business. Third and final reading of ordinance 1504 to amend the Irmo Town Code, Boards, Commissions, Committees, Division 2. This is the one doing with Lake Mary Women's Club. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
So moved.
And a second. Any discussion? And
I don't think there's any changes that's been made since last time.
And I made my amendments last time, it didn't go anywhere, so I won't make them again. For speed of service and all that good stuff, but any other discussion?
I was trying to amend it and tie it to the actual orchestra ordinance itself.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to talk to Jake about it. I won't do it now, but I was just wondering if the orchestra commission goes away for whatever reason, and these ordinances are tied, like the commissions and boards in here, this ordinance will automatically go away with it, or does it have to be 3 other readings to make this go away?
That's a question, Jake. If the commission goes away, it would eliminate section 2- whatever the commission's under.
Correct.
This is a separate 2-267, so it would still be there unless you eliminated this also.
Actually, the ordinance would remain, but the ordinance would be impossible to perform because there wouldn't be an upper commission.
Right.
But the ordinance, all ordinances will remain on the book until such time as they're removed by the vote of 3 people on the council with 3 readings. So if the orchestra commission were to go away, then the appropriate step would be to come back and clean up the town ordinances by removing any references to the orchestra commission in our town ordinance, so wherever they appear. So if you guys voted to totally get rid of the orchestra commission, you would need to do a review of the ordinances to make sure you brought the rest of the code into conformity with that action. But I'm not sure that I realistically see that as being a possibility, but I've been wrong before.
So that takes 3 readings to get rid of that ordinance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means it would take 6 readings, 3 readings to get rid of the orchestra commission, and 3
Do
other
them all at the
additional.
same
Unless you
time.
did them all at the same time, you could do them all contemporaneously.
Who's gonna do this? Has this come up? Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor of third and final reading of the ordinance 1504, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is the second reading of ordinance 1505 to amend the Irmo Town Code, Article 4, Board of Commissions, Committees, Orchestra, Section Finance and Expenditures. Is there a motion for second reading?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion on this one? This is one we added a little.
We added a, and
Yeah,
my
sure.
question is, their budget is a part of our budget, isn't it?
No,
Yes, it is.
it is not. I got a budget, separate budget right here.
It has to be a part of
Well,
ours.
it's a separate budget, but it's all part in the
But
total
it's all-
dollar amount. It's
yeah.
about
Comes out
whatever
of
it
town.
is.
Comes out of town, general fund.
Okay. Who approves their budget?
We do, and we vote
Okay.
on this thing.
Then
we
this is fine.
approve it.
As long as, it's our responsibility, and I don't want to shirk any, I don't want to, I'm happy for them to do whatever they want to do, to bring about the orchestra, it's fine. But I don't want to make them responsible for things that are out of their scope of responsibility. 'Cause
Hey,
this
what are you
is-
talking about, out of their scope of responsibility? I don't understand the question.
The way that the ordinance reads, they can just about spend what they want, when they want, for whatever reason they want, but, you know, and we pay it.
And we tried to clear that up at the last meeting by adding what's highlighted here.
But I understand.
Upon the recommendation of the Orchestra Commission and it being a part of their budget,
But I don't,
within the parameters of their budget.
Yeah.
they should not be responsible for the money. This takes some of it off. We should be it's our responsibility. And I think we've been shirking it because we just, anyway. This will be better.
Okay,
Because it's
I'm
our
confused.
cost.
I'm confused, so help me understand your point, Mrs. Khan. You say they should be responsible for we should be responsible for their money.
No,
Is that what
there
you
is
said?
no their money.
Okay, so what do you
It's
say?
our money. It's public money. Most of it is public money. I'm saying all of the money that comes into the town of Irmo
Right.
from wherever,
Right,
for whatever reason,
okay.
is public money. So it's all of their money. We have to be careful with it.
All right, so now, what does that have
In
to do?
their ordinance,
Right,
it says they can spend what they want, they can do what they, which is, I'm exaggerating, that's not exactly what it says.
well, let's be specific then.
My
So,
whole thing, I am.
Stop exaggerating, let's be specific. You're saying,
We are responsible for this money. To make them responsible for all of the public money is not even, should not be legal. It's us that must accept the responsibility. This helps. And that's the only reason it's on here. I don't think those ladies or Kirk should be responsible for all of the financial dealings. It's going to come back to us. And somebody's going to say, who did this? And we're going to have to say, we did. Because it's our job to do that. And if you don't believe that,
Okay.
read that oath again.
okay, so on the orchestra budget, they say they're gonna spend,
Yeah?
62.
Yes. And if they have good reason to spend more, it will be
Yeah, 60.
approved. If they have good reason to need more money for whatever, I'm sure it'll be approved. It always has been. But it's our responsibility we need to take responsibility for what they're spending.
so when we approve their budget,
It's
we're
fine.
we're not saying to them, we agree with what you have come up with
I
as a
do.
plan,
I do.
and we agree that you can spend $65,000 on the orchestra.
Yeah, I even think they may have to spend more some places and.
But they didn't say that. They said that this is what they need to
Well,
have.
you have to,
and this is what
I
they agreed to spend.
understand that there are things that come up that cost money. and
But
I
this is what they
respect that.
said. This is what they said.
Yes, and we
So-
take responsibility for it.
We always take responsibility for it. We always
According
have.
to the ordinance, we didn't.
How does that ordinance say that?
Not
Explain
this.
to me how
The
that-
ordinance without this.
Right, how does that ordinance without this
Well, then
say?
you need to read it.
I've read it. Where in it does it say we don't have responsibility?
It doesn't say anything about town council. It says they need to do their money or whatever way they wish.
Let me add one thing, and
Maybe you've got the ordinance.
well, I do, but what it used to say, and to me, it said, but it said the Irmo Orchestra Commission shall have control over the expenditure of funds raised by or appropriated to the Orchestra Commission for expenses incurred in the performance of its duties and functions. That was the original, which to me meant they still can't spend any more than what's on that budget, regardless. That didn't always happen, but this kind of
Yes, it
clarifies
did.
it.
It's always
No,
happened.
it didn't.
And
When does it happen? Wait a minute.
No,
Stop you're throwing crap out there. This
No.
doesn't make
No,
any
he's
sense.
not.
I'm afraid.
You're saying that it never happened and it just didn't do that.
I was speaking, you can speak, Kathy spoke, we can take turns. What it said on there before was they only had control over the expenditure of funds raised by or appropriated. That did not always happen. I think what
That did
Kathy...
always happen.
No, it didn't. What Kathy, I think, is saying, or what I'm understanding, in a way, is she's right. If they overspend, it's still our responsibility
responsibility.
to tell them they can't overspend. It's still our accountability to say, y'all overspend, you shouldn't do that, blah, 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 blah. It's our responsibility.
It is.
It would be our responsibility that if they did it 6 times in a row, we should kick them off and put new people on or do something like that. That would be our responsibility. If we don't do that, then it is our fault because we allow it. So that part,
But it's
I
not
agree.
those ladies' fault. They're volunteers.
Well, but when we appoint them and they volunteer,
Yeah, I
they have a responsibility to make sure, all that kind of stuff. So does the chairman and all that. But I think this helps make it a little bit clearer that they have to stay within the perimeters of the budget. And they have a
They're gonna have what
responsibility
they
to do
need,
that.
but it's our responsibility, not theirs.
Well, it's our accountability because when it all boils down to it, the council or citizen wants to ask, first thing they should ask is, well, why do y'all let those people do it? That'd be their question to us. Why do we let the same people do it if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing? This hopefully will make it a little bit more clear, and then we can kind of go from here and make sure it
This
does.
was the-
And we should hold them more accountable.
That-
And if
I
we do,
agree,
then
but this was not to
everything will work.
diminish the Overstruck Commission. This was to make us accept the responsibility for the financial dealings, and that's exactly what we should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's our fault if something works.
And I can't understand why, it's so much trouble to make y'all do right.
The buck stops with us, so to speak, and that's where it stands.
I talk and talk and talk, and they this is the
So,
right thing.
any more discussions?
Yeah, it's not a matter of us making us do right. It's a matter of when the mayor says they've overspent their budget, which is a bunch of baloney,
No, it's not.
they have never overspent their budget. They have never, ever overspent their budget. And he can't find one spot where he.
Yeah, we've showed it to you before.
No, you didn't.
And when we get
Show
to the
me,
budget,
show
I'll
me
show it on
where,
there.
show me where you overspent the budget.
When we get to the budget,
They
I'm gonna bring it
have
up.
never overspent their budget.
Are
Now,
you serious?
look at the budget. Look at the numbers from last year.
Okay,
How did they overspend their budget?
I'll formulate you the thing from the
It's
accounting
right
that
here.
you borrowed. Now, I don't even know what that.
Oh, this is the budget. You don't believe in that budget that they gave us, right? So
Yeah.
we're gonna vote on this and we don't believe in what they gave us?
I'll show you the change.
I'm defenseless.
So any more discussion? All in favor of the second reading of ordinance 1505, as it is here with the changes we made last time, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next reading is second reading of ordinance 1506 to amend the Irmo Town Code, Article 4, Board of Commission and Committees, Overstruck Commission, Section 262. And this is the one that I think I made changes on there. So I'll make a motion for second reading. And is there a second?
Second, tell me where the changes were. What was changed?
What we're
Oh, delete.
doing is we're deleting that one sentence and we're adding this other new sentence. And then the bold is what we added or amended to it last time. So we're deleting sentence D and then adding sentence D. So you see it?
Yep, I got it.
I got a paper copy of it. So we need discussion on that.
Did you get a second?
No,
Yeah,
no,
Kathy.
Okay.
So any discussion on that? All in favor of second reading of ordinance 1506 to delete a sentence and add a sentence, do so with show of hands. And all opposed? Next item is new business. This is the budget.
Susan's not out there, that's why you're acting.
First reading of ordinance 1507 to adopt the operating capital budget, and the total dollar amount is $5,272,703, of which $65,200 of that is the orchestra. And that is a balanced budget.
How much is that? How much is that? Say it again, please.
Which one?
What you just said about the budget, the
Orchestra is $65,200 of the $5,272,703. And the revenues and the expenses are all balanced, so basically have a balanced budget, zero meals. And is there a motion for first reading of that budget?
So moved.
Second.
So which one?
I'll second.
And any discussion on the budget? And I did want to, since it came up at the last meeting. Under the orchestra budget, I think on page 2, under rentals and equipment, this is one of the things that, and again, because of this is a July 1st through June 1st, and our orchestra runs January through December, these are hard to tell really what's over and under. But just based on this little thing here, just based on that, I think equipment rentals, Port Johns, 2,500 was the current budget. Year-to-date was 7,700. Right below that, stage technical support was 6,900. Budget year-to-date was 8,400. And I'm not saying they actually overspent that, because I know that overlaps, whatever, but we can argue all day long whether they overspent or not. If I look at the budget that the Oakstreet gave us, that they did on their own records,
Mr. Mayor,
the expenditures were over the revenue. So,
I can agree with you when you pick out a line item
well,
like
that's what he
that.
wanted, was a line item where it was over budget. That's all he wanted, so that's all I gave. Yes, there's some on there that are less too.
One thing,
Okay, you tell me when you finish.
I'm through.
Okay. What you're saying is absolutely true when you look at individual line items. You also look at times when vendors do group things together because you're buying the same, different type things from the same vendor. But as you have said many, many times, it all comes down to that bottom line. And right there where you were looking, under materials and supplies, tables, porta-johns, rentals, tech support, and stage tech support, it was budgeted $16,700, but they only spent $16,159. So they did not overspend that part. And while I've got the floor, and again, we pointed it out last time, if you go to page 3, when you look at total expenditures, it said the current budget was $162,600, and their actual expenditure was $158,213.
Right.
Okay, so it was not.
And,
Well,
well,
underneath
okay.
that, in parentheses, I believe parentheses means negative,
Yeah,
are all of the, right there, in the year 2012-13, 37,000.
yes, ma'am. But if you look at the far,
Yes,
no, you don't.
Ms. Cosman, if you look at the far left-hand column there where it explains that, it says that is revenue over and under. The revenue, they didn't have the revenue to come in, but they still didn't overspend their budget. Their budget said this amount. Now granted, all that money wasn't there, so it had to come out of their savings.
and some of it out of the town.
Right.
The only part that come out of the town was
Yeah, that's
the alcohol
part.
funds,
And
which
the
go
only
there all the
only
time.
reason I brought up those two line items, because I was asked to show one line item.
Parentheses mean negative.
So I just showed one line item where they were over budget, and that hopefully will settle that, but.
What it doesn't sell it is,
You know.
the bottom line is that they did not overspend their budget.
You can spend the numbers any way you want to.
Somebody lost money.
Yeah, we can.
Maybe
spend
they
the
did
numbers
not
all we
They
want
lost
to.
money, they didn't overspend their budget. You said they overspent the budget, and I'm telling you that's well, for lack of a better word, it's a lie.
I wish
You did not
everybody
overspend
had
the
made
budget.
money, we'd be rich.
I can look at the expenses for the last couple of years and find all kind of stuff with the overspent line items, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we can argue back and, the bottom dollar is it making money or breaking money even or losing money?
Bottom line, they didn't overspend the budget, what they estimated they spent.
And they came up 40-some thousand short on revenue. That's not helping.
See, this is
either.
what I'm talking about. This is a cloud of suspicion you keep casting over the open.
That's not a cloud of suspicion.
Sure it
It's money
is.
not raised.
He's saying that there's a criminal investigation going on in Oakstreet. He's saying that they overspent the budget, and this is continual lies that he's putting out there. And the people are like, they're listening to these little sound bites from him saying that, oh, they overspent their budget, which is a lie, and they didn't overspend their budget. You know, yes, you look down each line item, and the way he looks at it, oh, that number is bigger than that number, so you overspent your budget. But the bottom line is they spent less than what they had allocated for the whole group of stuff. I mean,
So what are those numbers in parentheses, lack of revenue? Looks like loss to me.
the revenue, how can the
Aaron.
town tell you, how can you tell them how much money they're gonna make?
You
They don't have a
You
clue
reach a
until you
point
make
where
that.
you just give up, you know. I give up.
Yeah, because you're trying to take
No,
that revenue
take it,
and
let's
clump
do
it
this.
into their budget, and it's not even in there.
It's in black and white. This is easy.
Maybe I need to have a CPA come and explain to you how to read a budget. I don't know. Maybe
I
it's-
handle your budget twice a week.
Well, you want me to call a CPA?
Well, I think it's a really easy way to handle a budget is you end up in the year with more money in your account than you started with,
We
then you're
try
doing
to
good.
help get
And
it.
that's pretty much what I end up doing every year. If I ended up with more money in my checking book every month than I spent, I'm happy. If it's less, then something's wrong, something's not right. It's not a rocket science type thing to do.
No, it's
just
not.
Look at it, and is there money in the account or is there not? But anyway,
Bottom line is, you saying that they overspent the budget, I'm saying that that's a lie. And you know,
that's
You ought to
it's
be
clear as day.
good.
You ought to go.
We can agree to disagree, but, so we're back to the budget and then discussion on the budget.
I think we ought to vote.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
And it's in the amount of 5,272,703. All in favor of that budget?
Just again, to reiterate, you did say that is 0 mills.
Zero.
Because the accounting done by this town is so good.
And I would also add to that, at the end of the year, normally, our revenues in different departments, or our expenses in different departments, are under what we estimate, which is good too.
Which is very good.
Helps us cover that bottom line at the end of the year. Next item is first reading of ordinance 1508 to amend the Urban Town Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Council Division, Ordinance Resolution, enactment of ordinance procedures generally. This is one, and I'll make a motion for first reading, but we had a discussion last meeting, I think it was. We're not supposed to make amendments to first readings. And it's a council decision, it's not a state law. You can do it first reading, second reading, third reading. For whatever reason, we've always had it that you couldn't. I don't know how well we about it. Yeah, but I just wanted to explain to them. And that's why I asked for it to be put on there, because we can just take it off and get rid of that.
You can make an amendment on first reading.
Well, we have to go through 3 readings first.
But that's
We
what
have to
this
change
is.
the code because there was no provision for that. Or you could take it in title only. There was no provision.
I'll say.
That's what
So
you
I'll make a motion. Okay.
It's
so you're
taking
second.
time long, right?
Yeah, but see, even in title only,
I second.
anybody can ask for it to be read in its entirety. So you still have to, even if it's read in title, you still have to have the whole
It
document
just
there.
gives you a better chance to clean it up before it gets to third reading.
Yeah. and I don't know
Third
why-
reading, I don't like making changes to
Yeah.
third reading because it looks like you're trying to do something, at the very last minute and not give people a chance to. You've already had your public hearing at that point.
I honestly don't even remember for years whether we actually went by that or not, because I just happened to stumble across it one day and I thought, oh, we ain't supposed to be doing that. And I think Bob talked to somebody at the municipal association, he said some places do, some places don't, so it's
If we remove what you've requested here, it kind of cleans it up and allows us one extra time to get it like we
Yeah,
want.
and the good thing is too, like if we had something on here, and let's say we were going to vote to change the color of the police car, and I said black and white, and we made a motion for black and white, and we really didn't want black and white. We had to kill that, start back over with green and white, and then kill that, start back over with whatever. But if you can amend it at first, then you can get it all ironed out. After you get first reading and get what everybody wants, and then we can move from there on down the road. So I think it makes it really easier for us to do stuff. And get it all done first and second, and then third, like you said, changing it. Any more discussion? All in favor then of ordinance 1508, which changes that to eliminate not being able to make amendments at first reading. All in favor, do so with show of hands. And next item, is there a next item? Oh. Discussion on Veterans Memorial. Councilman Walker, you have that to be on there, I'll let you do it first.
Yeah, a lot of emails are going back and forth about that. Veterans Memorial in the, I guess they want to put it in the Vets Park, right? And we had some discussion on building a wall or putting a flagpole up or something, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it and decide how and if we can do that, and if we do that, what the criteria is to get on this wall. I mean, to get on this, wall, do you have to be a resident Irmo? Do you have to be somebody who's died, somebody who's living? All that information is what we need to figure out.
Well, that was the stuff Bob was sending now, was a big list with everything.
I mean, it's going to be a lot more complicated than I think it needed to be. I mean, I'm in agreement we need to do, but I like to do something. I like to honor our veterans, but, for instance, I have 2 veterans in my family, my son and my son-in-law. Well, they're not veterans yet, they're in active duty military right now, so when they get out, they both grew up in the town of Irmo, and when they both get out, and they go on to greater things, do they automatically qualify for, a mention on the wall?
Well, that's the stuff we'd have to decide, and I think one of your things said that if it's a memorial, that means they got to be deceased. Yeah, so that'd be the first criteria. If it's a memorial, then they'd have to be deceased.
And then.
Or I think you even mentioned that if they were retired.
It doesn't have to be memorial, they can be retired, they could have been in combat.
Yeah, they could have been missing in action, killed in action.
And are we gonna say that, if they were in combat?
We'd have to come up with all this criteria.
That's why I sent the people on email.
I understand.
Because if you don't limit it, you're going to end up with a humongous wall and a humongous, or.
What does the city of Columbia do you know?
No. I know they have their monument down there by
But theirs is in
Ordnance
Vietnam.
Security's office.
And there's
Theirs is Vietnam.
Vietnam War.
In fact, that's what it
Now,
is, just for Vietnam.
Sent an email to that guy that's been here before from the American Legion, but I hadn't heard anything back from him, if he knew of any quote criteria that was standard anywhere. I don't know. But I think, like, whatever that one wall was, I don't know, it was 10 foot long, or maybe it was a monument like a.
They can go up or sideways, yeah. It was like 3 foot by 6 foot or 3 foot by 8 foot.
But if you figured out that thing will, if the plaques were yay big, and this thing will hold X amount of plaques, then you know, okay, it'll hold 200 plaques. Is 200 plaques going to be enough, or do we need 5 of those walls? If you don't limit it, then you're going to end up with a whole bunch of monuments. If you say that people had to be born in Irmo, or they were in Irmo when they signed up, or in Irmo when they died, or 30 years retirement, or all those criteria.
And we have to vet them, right?
Well,
Not once we make that criteria, then we'd have to prove somehow, they'd have to submit.
Yeah, you'd have to see
says
military records.
that shows
The
that
DD
they-
214
But-
would work. It'll give you everything you need.
Yeah.
I don't believe we have the time and the money to do this. We're talking about a rock. You want to put a rock in it. I would think of some other, if we need to build maybe a playground, something, maybe at the Veterans Park, and put in honor of veterans or the ones who have died in war. That'd be something, but a rock. And the town to be, they have to work 24/7 all the time. Have a section just for memorials.
So that's what the monument did now.
the big grass plaque that's on the rock in
We
front of the
got the
flag.
rock, so that should be fine. But I think this all rose from someone that wanted to recognize
Yes.
Mr. Carson.
Yes.
And, maybe they should do a bench. I think for the town to pay for it, I just don't think we
Do
can
we
do
have
that.
to vote?
Yeah, and if we pay for it, then we gotta do it for everybody that meets
Right.
that same criteria,
That's
and then
right.
you start getting into, that's.
Is there a reason why somebody couldn't say, I want to put a bench in the park for
They could right
Mr.
now.
Carson?
We've got 4 or 5 of them in there now.
It would
saying,
have
is
to meet
it-
our specifications.
Right, but anybody can say, I'd like to sponsor a bench for my son and my son-in-law.
Right, there's no criteria.
Or the Irmo Park. How about the community park? Let them buy a bench for that park. Why not?
No,
Harvey's looking at me, if I can be recognized, as somebody who basically sweated blood over that Veterans Park. You know, the town and the Arbor Day Committee have invested huge amounts of time, energy, and money into that park. What did we spend for the monument we had when we erected? Was it $7,000?
Somewhere around there.
I think the Arbor Day Committee spent a good portion of that. I know that Paul's family has erected a bench in that park in honor of Mr. Younger. I know that I spent $1,500 on a bench in honor of my dad. It certainly seems to me appropriate that if someone wants to do something in honor of Mr. Karst or any particular veteran, he ought to be able to come to the town and basically make a recommendation and ask for permission to do it. I'm like Paul, we got a rock. How much more can we do? I mean, we've got, between the town of Irmo and the Arbor Day Committee, I mean, that's about a $500,000 investment over there. Flag poles, benches, workout equipment, walking trails, rocks, monuments, trees, good gosh. To me, if somebody wants to come in and ask you to do something in honor of Al Karst, I can see that as being entirely appropriate. But I'm not sure that the town ought to be spending any more of its money. I mean, right now you spend money every month on cutting the grass and pruning trees and all that sort of stuff. It seems like if somebody wants to honor Al Karst, great. But I'm like Paul, please don't put any more rocks over there. Come in and build us a swing set. Could we use a swing set in the Veterans Park? You bet. Could we use a bench type swing in the Veterans Park? You bet. Could we use a picnic shelter in the Veterans Park? You bet. But another rock or something or a wall, you'll never be able to manage that. If the town starts paying for it, where do you cut it off? Do you do veterans who died, veterans who served in the foreign war? You'll never get control of it. You're just going to have a mess. That Veterans Park was created to honor America's veterans, and I think we've done that. And we have told people before who come to us, we had one gentleman who was going to spend all kinds of money to do some kind of special monument to somebody. And the money never showed up. The design never showed up. The town and the Arbor Day Committee, we've done our part. If somebody wants to do something, let them come and ask you permission to build it. And if it makes sense, let them build it. But I would highly recommend that we not start spending any more money on particular people, because you're going to get on a slippery slope. On the other hand, if somebody wants to do something in honor of Al Karst, my friend Al Karst, I'll donate to it. But let's get something that we can make some use out of that benefits everybody. But thank you for letting me speak my piece, but I do have somewhat of an interest in that Veterans Park, since a lot of my money and time is laying over there.
So we can put you down for a bench for Mr. Karst.
Look, I will promise you this: if somebody wants to do a bench for Al Karst, I'll make a donation toward that bench. We've got a former mayor who was a retired captain in the Air Force, but we've never done anything to recognize, which is Maxie Carter. If we're going to do a bench for Mr. Carson, we've got about all the benches we need in the Veterans Park. Let's put it over in the community park where we can basically have more use for it. It's going to be a bench. If you're going to do playground equipment, then let's move that over to the Veterans Park, because we can basically make some use of it, or a bench swing or something along those lines. Whit Klein can tell you more what we need, where we need it, than anybody I know. But I will personally commit that I'll make a big donation to anything they want to do for Al Karst. I'd be honored to do that. But let the people who are asking us to do it, let them come. You want us a donation, belly up to the bar, folks. Everybody loves to watch you do it, but when it comes time to ask for the checks, I can tell you from experience, it's hard to get out sometimes.
And they could probably, and I don't know if we need, I'll say more trees planted over there, but they could maybe make a donation of a tree and put a little plaque in front of it. I don't know. They if they wanted to do
I'm all
something
about
like
the
that.
trees.
Or put a plaque in front of one of the trees that's already there, and make a donation.
Sure. If they really want to do something, we got to find about $200,000 right now. We're trying to raise the money right now. We need $200,000 to finish our elementary school. We've raised about 30 of them. We got a long way to get. If somebody wants to do something constructive, we can show them our elementary where they can really do something nice. They'll be there for a long time.
This started out as a flagpole in the new park, and maybe we ought to go back to it.
Well, we got
But
plaques.
if everybody wants a flagpole, you could have 500 flagpoles out there for you to,
No,
you
no,
can't
one
say no.
flagpole, one flag.
I'm
You
saying, but
can't
once-
say for one person.
when you allow it, when you
Well, if
allow it.
somebody now, but if somebody wanted, I don't think the town could do that.
No.
But if somebody wanted to come in and said, I'll give you a flagpole if you'll put it up and with a plaque of Mr. Carson, okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that at all. That would be wonderful. We always, I'm in favor of the American flag. But let the people who are asking us to honor Mr. Carson, let them come forward with something off, let them have some skin in this game too. This is the community.
Okay.
But again, you let me talk too long, but again, this park thing, especially Dover Park, I sort of got, yeah, I've got a little interest over there. I like you.
Any more discussion? All in favor, then no. Next item is presentation by a citizen. This is where anyone who wants to address Irmo Town Council on anything, regardless of whether it's on the agenda tonight or not, you may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Next item is executive session. None that I know about. None.
No, sir.
None. Next item is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And all in favor?